Welcome, everyone. I'm Sherold Barr from SheroldBarr.com. I'm doing an interview today with Kelly Alford. Kelly is one of the women that I'm interviewing for a series called Women on the Rise. These are women entrepreneurs who have started businesses, and I'm asking them to share the story of their business, how they've stayed in the game, and where they are today. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Kelly is the founder and designer of the IOTA brand, which is a colorful lifestyle brand. She's had a design studio for 29 years, and she founded IOTA in 2003, and she sold that company in 2009. And she's continued on with IOTA as the designer, and she works in her design studio called Words, Pictures, and Colors. I was interested in talking to Kelly because she's recently started a new social enterprise company. She began that idea in 2013, and she and three partners incorporated The Whole Works. The name of that company is The Whole Works, and they incorporated that in 2014. The Whole Works is a brand new Colorado-based clothing production facility that's dedicated to creating dignified jobs and reinvigorating American manufacturing. That's so fabulous. And as one of the first public benefit corporations in the state of Colorado, they're focused on making social impact by partnering with a job preparation program that teaches production sewing to women who are transitioning from federal assistance. I have to just say, that gives me chills. So fantastic.
You know what? Even as you said it, it gave me a little goosebumps.
I got goosebumps all over my body. I mean, this is really where it's at, folks, and I'm just so happy to have you, Kelly. And I do want to tell them how I know you. Kelly and I just had the pleasure of meeting in 2011. We were 2 of 10 entrepreneurs that went to Seth Godin's office in New York. We got to work with Seth for a whole day. He did laser sessions with us, and it was just an amazing experience, that alone. And it happened to be Kelly's idea. She told Seth she wanted to do that, and then the rest was history, and that's how I met you. And I'm so thrilled because I knew you then with IOTA, and
Right.
I knew you had bigger aspirations, and then we've kept in touch. And I think in the last 2 years, I knew you wanted to go towards this new social enterprise, which was so thrilling for me just to even hear about. And then I got in touch with you recently and learned that you indeed did it, and you also won an award. So let's start. We'll talk about all of this journey for you, but start back about you becoming an entrepreneur, and let's hear the story of your businesses. Just take us on a little journey about your businesses.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, and it's wonderful to be talking to you. I have been a graphic designer since 1984 in my own studio. I actually have never worked for anyone else. I am a self-taught graphic designer. Interestingly enough, I studied religion in college, which I think is significant because I think religion is the epitome of branding. It's the branding of spirituality. And I've been involved with branding and messaging and design ever since, because I understand that these things are constructs that we design, that we create to make our lives more meaningful, our products more meaningful. So I think my religion degree is significant, even though I didn't formally study art in college. So I had a design studio. It grew over the next 15 years to the point where in 2002, I had about 7 employees. We were doing a tremendous amount of business. I live in the Roaring Fork Valley, which is outside of Aspen, Colorado, which is a huge cultural hub. And I believe the Roaring Fork Valley has more nonprofit organizations per capita than anywhere else in the country. And that's significant for me because my little niche became nonprofit arts organizations that I supported with my graphic design business. The Aspen Music Festival, Aspen Film, the Aspen Institute, the Aspen Ideas Festival, really big
Big.
organizations,
Those are big.
and did a lot of really wonderful branding and graphic support for those organizations. So that grew. And then in 2002, I had always wanted to start I have a passion for paper and cards and color and design and type. And I had always had an obsession with stationery. So I really wanted to start a little stationery company. And in 2002, I went by myself. Well, actually, I went with my 12-year-old daughter at the time to the New York Stationery Show and walked the show. Realized that at that time, there really wasn't anything like what I was doing. It was colorful, bold, patterned cards. There really wasn't a lot there. So I went back home and decided I was going to start the company. And then we attended the stationery show as an exhibitor the next year in 2003. So that's when we launched the company at the stationery show. That company grew very quickly. We used just the platform of the stationery show. In 5 years, we doubled every year. And until we got to the point in 2008 where the company attracted the attention of C.R. Gibson, the oldest social stationery company in America, and it was acquired in 2008. And I went to work with them for a period of 5 years after that as the lead designer for the brand. So the basis of everything comes from my design studio. And that itself was an entrepreneurial exercise that grew nicely over a period of years. But then IOTA was different because it was a product company. It involved inventory, something I didn't have very much familiarity with. Eventually, as we grew to the point that we did just before the acquisition, a warehouse with a warehouse staff. So I learned a lot during those 5 years, and that was very exciting. So then jumping ahead to get to the whole works, and during those 5 years that I worked for IOTA as a part of C.R. Gibson, I learned a tremendous amount. C.R. Gibson is a very big company. It's a $70 million company, and I think they had 150 employees. I just learned a lot about a scale of company I'd never had any experience with before at all. So that was wonderful. I was contractually obligated to work for the company for 5 years. I'm now staying on as the designer for IOTA, but I was actually an employee of C.R. Gibson for those 5 years. And towards the end of that time, I really started to struggle with our manufacturing because from the time of the acquisition, all the manufacturing had moved overseas. It had moved to Asia. So everything, all our paper products, all of our textile products, everything was being manufactured in Asia. And, I just wanted to see if it wasn't possible to do some kind of American-made manufacturing, even if it was one little piece of the puzzle, one little part of the line. So I started to look into it in 2012, 2013. In 2013, got together with a group of women who had the same interest. We started to explore how this might become a possibility. So at the beginning of it, I was interested in this manufacturing facility for my own brand. But it became pretty clear pretty quickly for us as partners that we were interested in American manufacturing in general, not just for IOTA, but for other designers as well. And that the manufacturing piece was the most important piece for us, although we all love design and we are all designers of different sorts. But this job piece was really important. Creating American manufacturing jobs was incredibly important to us. And we understood all the issues around women in poverty and the fact that if you give a woman a job, she will spend her paycheck on her family, not herself. And it just has this incredible ripple effect in the community. So, all of this stuff, we had all this stuff rolling around in our minds, and landed on the idea of trying to set up an apparel manufacturing facility. And I'll back up and say, I've never started a business with partners before.
I wanted to ask you about that. So I'm
Yeah,
how did you find these? I know one is your daughter, so that's what's interesting is she's grown up with you as a great role model, being an entrepreneur and going with you to the gift show at 12. And how old is she now?
She's 26
See, that's
now.
just fantastic.
Yeah.
So, how did you pick your partners? Did you?
Well, it's interesting. They're all friends,
Mm-hmm.
and Sadie is my daughter, of course. The other two are good friends. One is a teacher, and one is a landscape architect.
Mm.
We're just friends, and we have shared this love of design and love of product, love of the idea of American made, a real passion for trying to do something around this issue of women's poverty and women's independence. And we all four of us really understand the beauty of a job. We are passionate about work. We feel as though work is the place where we really have our own self-discovery every day.
I would
It's a place
agree.
of
Yeah,
great
totally.
feedback loops
Yes.
and
You get to
great.
know yourself really
Yeah,
well, and it's like I say, it's like the Shero's journey because your dragons come up, challenges, your mind, fears, everything,
every day,
every
every
day.
day.
There it is, same thing.
It's
You
very
get to experience
dependable every
very,
day. Yeah.
very dependable.
So it was this combination of women's empowerment, the importance of and dignity of a job, the power of a job to pull a woman out of not only financial poverty, but a kind of cultural and emotional poverty as well, building self-esteem and all those things.
Yes.
And then on top of it was just this love of design and love of products. I think originally we thought we might make some of our own products, but we abandoned that at the beginning, although we've picked it up again, and I'll talk about that at the very end. We realized that we really wanted to serve the designers in our community by providing them with small run production like I had wanted for IOTA.
Mm-hmm.
So it started out of that struggle for myself. The whole works really began, with the struggle that I was having existentially myself about my own brand, not having the integrity that I wanted it to have with that American manufacturing piece. So really, it was born out of that struggle. And the partner thing, I'll speak to that for a second. I've never had a partner. It made me very nervous because I'm very independent and I like to call the shots. I think I'm a very strong leader. And I was nervous about having partners because we're all very strong women. And we're all friends. And my daughter is one of the partners. And I was nervous about the relationship. So what we did is we hired a mediator last fall, and we worked with him for about 2.5 months on the author's name, but the name of the book is called The Partnership Charter. And we worked through that book literally chapter by chapter together with the mediator. And we built we drafted our own partnership charter. The partnership charter process ended with a weekend retreat, a 3 full-day retreat at one of the partners has a cabin in a remote part of Colorado where there's no cell service. And the mediator and the four of us went away for 3 days, just drafted the charter together. Drank some whiskey and got it done.
Wow.
And
so was that helping you clarity around roles and if challenges come up, you were setting the framework for how you would work together in this charter?
Yes.
That's just fabulous.
Yes, strengths and weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
We all did the personality tests, and this book is really incredible. And I will, so you can share with your listeners, it's an amazing book. And it's really a manual. And we literally went through it chapter by chapter. And we even went to the point of calling the author and asking if we could work with him. And he said we could, but it was very expensive. So he said, why don't I talk to your mediator and I can empower him with the process, and so he can take you through it. So that's what we did. We ended up working with our mediator, Tim McFlynn, an incredible guy. He actually owns Aspen Dispute Resolution, which is a mediation firm. And so he did it for us. And yes, so roles and responsibilities, strengths and weaknesses, what to do when we would hit roadblocks, decisions about growth or investment or money or loans or lines of credit, all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. That was an incredible thing. And so we came home from that weekend with our charter in hand, literally, and we knew we were good to go. We knew we were good to start. So we incorporated that month and rented a space the month after and had our doors open in January of this year, January of 2015. So we're pretty new. We're a baby.
Tell us about the B Corp.
It's been around for a while in other states. I know New York and California, it's been around, and I don't exactly know how long, but it was in the legislature of Colorado for a couple of years. I think it actually almost got there and then was defeated, but then again in June of 2014 it passed, that it was a legitimate corporate status. And benefit corporation, it actually doesn't have any tax benefits, not yet anyway. It does allow you to track more than one bottom line. So for instance, for Patagonia is a benefit corporation in California, they track an environmental bottom line. They also have a social bottom line now too, because they have all this work around their factories, and vetting their factories has become a big part of their business model. Warby Parker is one. Social mission of giving a pair of glasses.
These are Warby Parker glasses.
So
right
are these.
here.
So
they are
these.
too. I know. I was admiring
very,
your glasses.
very proud of that company and love giving them business.
Me too.
So for both of us, we made possible another person to have a pair of glasses.
Yes, we did.
They're a benefit corporation. Tom Shoes is one.
Oh.
Etsy is one. Really cool companies.
Yeah.
And so for us, we liked this idea that we were going to track a social bottom line of how many women we could employ, and in particular, how many women could, because of our business model, transition off federal assistance. It's not called welfare anymore. It's called TANF, which is an acronym for Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. And it's temporary for 5 years. So that's the temporary part of that. Also, for us, there was a marketing benefit to the benefit corporation status. We liked being able to tell the story that we were a benefit corporation. We liked to talk about our social mission. So we had to write a purpose statement around our social mission, and the state requires us to just acknowledge how we've worked to meet that goal. That's the benefit corporation status. I hope it becomes more prevalent in other states, because it really allows you to think differently about your business. Obviously, we're a for-profit company. We love making money. We know the importance of making money.
Yes.
We are not a nonprofit. We do have a nonprofit partner, which is part of our whole works business model. But we are a for-profit company. We're proud of it. We do have this other social enterprise mission that's part of our business model as well.
Great. And you had to, as part of this, you said you have a nonprofit partner.
It's a partner, and it's a really interesting model. And that sort of helped us in the formation of our company, identifying this nonprofit, which formed a couple of years before the whole works formed. And it is a nonprofit, takes women, that works with the county. So it's a partnership program with Colorado Mountain College, which is our community college system in Colorado, Garfield County, which is the county where we're located. Our factory is in Rifle, Colorado. That's where Garco is located also. Garco Sewing Works is the name of the nonprofit. They work with Garfield County, identifying women who are on federal assistance. They take them off federal assistance. The county, instead of paying the federal assistance to the women, pays it to the nonprofit. The women are required to show up 40 hours a week in a training facility, and they teach them how to sew. Wow. And while they teach them how to sew, so they're teaching them a skill, which I am particularly personally so attached to. I've been sewing since I was about 8 years old. Sadie, my daughter, who's one of the partners, likes to joke that, I gave all my children a sewing machine, which I did.
I love that.
Because I just felt like it was one of those skills in life that was really important.
Yes.
But it's a particularly beautiful thing to learn, because you're working with your hands. It's very meditative, very tactile, it's very creative, and it's very useful because you can make beautiful things, including clothing and apparel, which is what we focus on. So teaching the women how to sew, but they also put them on an education plan. So if the women don't want to become an industrial sewer, they can become something else, a nurse, a welder, a truck driver, and those are all real things that these women have become. They take care of their children, and almost all these women on federal assistance have children. Some of these mothers are very young, which is another very poignant thing. And they put them on an education plan. So they need to go back to school, or if they need to get a GED or whatever it is. So that's the nonprofit partners. So one of the motivations for us forming, other than our own desire to make beautiful things, but with American workers, was that when these women finished the program, if they wanted to become an industrial sewer, there were no jobs because there's no apparel, there's no textile manufacturing economy, really. It's in pockets in different places. The biggest concentration of this is in Los Angeles right now, and it's quite vital there, although I think we all heard American Apparel just declared bankruptcy. So that model may or may not be vital. Our dream is big. We want to bring back American manufacturing. We know that American sewing jobs are good jobs. They're creative jobs. They're sustainable jobs. You can grow in that job. So that's our nonprofit partnership is that we first, when we are hiring, we look to their sewers and see if there's anyone in their group that is trained at the level that we need or close to the level that we need, and that really wants to become an industrial sewer. We have one woman with us right now who just came from the program. She's incredible. We had to train her for a few months when she first came over because the level of sewing that they do is not quite at the level that we're doing. But she's now a production sewer and more or less fully trained. So that's our partnership with our nonprofit. So what I wanted to talk to you about was our business model. Which is really unique and an experiment, like all startups, which is an important thing.
That word is a word I use all the time. When you're in business, you're experimenting.
You're trying every day. So our business model, as we find success setting up the whole works in our first location, Rifle, Colorado, our business model is to, rather than create and grow one business to a big level, say $40 million in one community, we would like to create $41 million businesses, thereby invigorating 40 communities. What happens with this model is that it becomes this energizer in each community, because when you have a sewing apparel manufacturing plant, you also need a silk screener, you need an embroiderer, you need a fabric cutter, you need a pattern maker. So there's all these sort of adjunct services that plug into the whole works, create a ripple effect in your community. And so that's exciting as well. But we're starting with the first one. That's what we're doing now. We're trying to get it right. And then we'd like to write, we're actually in the process of writing our playbook, which will be the book we'll use to create the next one.
So you can do lessons learned and then modify. That's so great. So that you're not only helping these women with this, as you said, it is a ripple effect, feed their families and support themselves, get off assistance, but you're also helping reinvigorate communities.
And these most rural communities, not just in Colorado, but I know in the South and Northeast, they are looking for some kind of economic engine that is sustainable and fits with the scale of the community. And it's very exciting. And I'll jump to talk a little bit about the trajectory of our year, because we're just approaching the end of our first year in business. We moved into our facility in January and started setting up and started ordering machines and buying machines. But we really weren't up and running until about April, when we hired our first factory manager and our first sewer. So we had a sewer and a factory manager to start. That's when we started we started making our own sample items. We made some tote bags and some t-shirts just so we could practice with our machines and kind of get ourselves up to speed. And then we started working with clients in June. So it hasn't been very long, and we're really up and running now. We have quite a few clients. The purchase orders that are coming in are bigger and bigger each week, and we're figuring it out. We're figuring it out.
Actually, that is very fast.
It's very fast.
It is fast too. And so the whole, this is such a beautiful outgrowth of IOTA, because you've learned licensing, you've learned the manufacturing process, been tremendous for you.
It has. The one partner of the four of us who has the most experience is actually our 26-year-old, Sadie, who's also my daughter. Yeah. She has been working in the fashion industry in LA since she graduated from college. She's a fashion designer, worked with fashion design, but became most interested in production, fashion production, which is, of course, how she came to become a partner with us, because that's really what we're doing. She has been the one who's helped us the most with understanding what machines we needed to order, setting out our procedures for not only pre-production but production. But it's been a learning curve because we don't have anybody that's done this before in our company, and there really isn't anybody. There are other small centers, apparel manufacturing centers in other cities. I know there's some in Detroit. I know there's some in New York. There's some in LA. None with the social enterprise model that we have. So we're really learning as we go. So we were going along, and then towards the end of August, we got an email saying we had been nominated for a Colorado Business Award. It would be awarded to companies who are at the intersection of lifestyle and commerce. Okay. We didn't know what this was. We were sort of ostensibly 7 months old, but really about 3 months old. It was a little nerve-wracking. Out of 160 companies, Colorado companies get nominated. 11 were chosen as contenders for this award, and we were then told that we were a contender. That was a big honor. And then they asked us to make a video explaining our business model and our business structure. And then all 11 companies converged in Denver in the middle of October to show the videos. We had roundtables with the Economic Development Office of the state of Colorado, the Colorado Innovation Network, just all kinds of really wonderful Colorado entrepreneurial networking. We were in the company of amazing Colorado companies. Osprey Backpacks, which is a 40-year-old Colorado company, was nominated in our group. The first company that successfully canned craft beer was a company, Wild Goose Canning. Really cool companies, really amazing. This one handicapped veteran who had started a manufacturing company making hand bikes for handicapped veterans. Mountain bikes. These are mountain bikes. These allow veterans, paraplegics and quadriplegics to actually mountain bike. So these were incredible companies. We spent 2 days with everyone networking, and we felt very much like the baby at the table, but we were drinking it up. We were loving it and learning a lot. Long story short, we ended up winning the award.
That's incredible.
Which was an incredible honor, an incredible validation of our idea, our business plan. Yeah. And most importantly, it launched us into this network of companies and resources that we would never have otherwise had. We have an open door with the Office of Economic Development and International Trade of the state of Colorado. In fact, I just met with him yesterday. He came to Rifle and met with us. And we're going to do some exciting things, not only grow the Whole Works and the Whole Works business model, but we are going to, with the Office of Economic Development, start industrial sewing education curriculum that will become a training grounds for these new employees that will populate this new industry. Other than the whole just running of the business, this is the kind of ripple effect that we never, ever dreamed we could have, at least not this quickly. And the other exciting thing that we're doing, and just in conversation with Luis, who's the chief marketing officer for the Colorado Economic Development Office, he's going to take me with him, and we're going to go in front of a state legislature and ask for some assistance for entrepreneurial companies at our level. Because right now the threshold for these companies getting assistance from the state is 7 employees and $50,000 in the bank. Oh, well, that's a pretty big leap to get from your garage to that place. He'd like to see something in the middle, and which is exactly where we are. 3 employees, $20,000 in the bank. We would really benefit from help from the state, but we don't quite qualify for that threshold. And he wants to have that threshold lowered so that companies like ours can benefit. So we're actually doing that kind of networking too. It's exciting.
Yeah, and this can be almost a model for how it can be done other places. As a former PR person who used to work with New York Times and Wall Street Journal, I'm sitting here thinking, this is a great story, Kelly. Somebody should pitch you. It's a great story. Did they do something?
Well, one of our clients, which is a very cool Colorado apparel manufacturing company, was just featured in Entrepreneur magazine. Oh, and we were a big part of that article because we are his we are a huge part of his business model, which is a vertically integrated Colorado apparel manufacturing company. And I can send you a link to that article in Entrepreneur Magazine.
It's a great story for how this idea and this B Corp and public-private whole partnership model that you're using and to help women.
My favorite new way to talk about this startup is our name. The Whole Works is the name of our company, but it's also a sentence. It's got an article, a noun, and a verb. The Whole Works. And when you keep your eye on the whole thing, family and work, the environment and industry, social, public and private, that's when things work, when the whole is paid attention to. And that's really our vision. And I think that will create sustainable companies that will be fun to work with.
I think this is a beautiful story, and I'm so thrilled to have stayed in touch and to have seen you go through this whole process. Is there anything you'd share with new entrepreneurial women that are out there and you know what it's like struggling? There's challenges always. They will come, and it may be that you don't know how to do something or you tried something and it didn't work, and that's why I say experiment, experiment, experiment. And then it takes away the whole mind barriers. But is there anything that you would share that about in the beginning before we started about the words that were important to both of us? For me, it's tenacious. I used to tell the employees in my first business, just call me Tenacious B. B as in boy for Barr, because I'm very tenacious and I will take leaps and risks and learn quickly. That's how I learn, is doing it. Perseverance, we talked about resilience. So what would you share?
Well, that's a great question. I like to start answering that question from my own experience of living in Colorado and being an outdoors person and an athlete, an adventurer. And one of my mentors, in addition to Seth Godin, who's my chief mentor, but one of my mentors in business is Yvon Chouinard, who's the founder of Patagonia.
Wow.
And my favorite line of his is, "The adventure begins when things start to go wrong." It's a beautiful sentence, and it's a beautiful thought because it's so true.
Yes. Yes.
And this has taken me a long time to embrace, because I've been in business for myself for 30 years. You really have to get comfortable with the fear and get comfortable with the idea that things are always going to change. But most of all, when things go wrong, yes, understand that something's going wrong, but also understand that in that struggle are the seeds of something that you're going to learn, something that may actually turn into a bigger success story after all. I'd say in the struggles are the seeds for new opportunity. And that's how I try to embrace change now, is with that idea that not only is it inevitable, but that it will bring new seeds, it will bring new ideas, it will bring new opportunities. I think that is the biggest thing. And I will share one struggle that we've had this year with the Whole Works in particular, with bringing these women off federal assistance into the sewing training facility and then into our factory where they have real jobs, with a for-profit company, working with real clients on real product that's going to ship into the marketplace.
Yes.
So our nonprofit partner came to us with this information about women transitioning from federal assistance, is that for them to be successful, they have to have the trifecta of transportation, childcare, and housing. So those were the three things. And once those three things for them were secure, they were really in a good place to be successful. So we thought, okay, that's a very meaningful trifecta. Let's work with that. And so then we bring these women off federal assistance out of the training facility into the for-profit world with real jobs. And what did we discover right away? There was a fourth one that was more important and trumped all the others, and that was mental health. And in that area of mental health are a lot of things. Are these women suffering from depression? Do they have substance abuse issues? Do their spouses have substance abuse issues? Do their children? What is their work ethic? When did they ever learn about a work ethic? How is their executive function? What is the level of their executive function? What is their self-esteem? Mm-hmm. And these issues these issues far trumped all the other issues for us. And we quickly discovered that if these women didn't have access to some mental health support systems, they weren't going to be successful, whether or not they had childcare, whether or not they had housing, and whether or not they had transportation. So we've taken this knowledge back to our nonprofit partner and said, okay, yeah, that's a really good foundation, but you got to gin it up with this one, mental health. And so that's been our biggest lesson, that, without that piece for these women, they will not be successful. And we have a lot of programs in our factory going for these women that helps them with these mental health issues, and with executive function and organizational skills and things like that. But that was a big lesson that we sort of took at face value what our nonprofit told us, but we were quickly learning otherwise, and now we've been able to transfer that information back to our nonprofit partners. So
that's why I think this whole process, this whole company, is going to be an incubator for how this works, what you're doing right now, and it can be the basis for others. This is a great way to extend it to women and then to communities. So yeah. I hope that this is one that's studied by other states, other people come in and see how you're doing this. It's just so good. The whole works it's a great idea. So it's
the whole works.
The whole works. It's just great. And I wanted to share your story because this lesson of look for the seeds in the challenges. And I take that philosophy to life as well. When you've got something that happens, what was the good that was there for you? How did it make you a stronger person? How did it make you more resilient? Because I think it's all there for us. So this is such a great interview. I really thank you for taking this time. And I'm going to put all the links down below, people to see what some of the references Kelly talked about. And if you like this video and want to share comments, please do. I'll make sure Kelly sees those. And Kelly, thank you, and I wish you so much success in this business.
Thank you, Sherold.
Yeah.
It's been a great honor.
And also knowing you and following you after these years, it's great to hear this. So take care of yourself, and thanks again.